The small group moved cautiously through the plains. The rogue faction's patrols were growing stronger, more organized, and more numerous. Every movement of the human soldier, Rian, was deliberate. Every glance measured, he scanned the horizon, with his sensors calculating the fastest and safest paths for Neva and the refugees. Neva walked beside him, alert and ready, but also observing how he managed every detail. It was no longer just skill, it was instinct. A human way of thinking that seemed impossible to predict, but worked every time. "You are more than a soldier, Rian," she said quietly. "You are a strategist, a guide, and a protector all at once." "I have never seen anything like it," Rian shook his head. "I'm just doing what humans do. We survive by acting, by thinking ahead, and by helping others, nothing more." But Neva could see that it was more. It was courage, determination, and an understanding of others that no alien training could teach. Humans could inspire, adapt, and lead, all while facing danger head-on. They paused at a ridge, overlooking a valley where the main enemy patrols gathered. Rian crouched, scanning with his sensors. "There are too many to confront directly," he said. "We need a diversion, something clever enough to pull them away from the path we must take." Neva's eyes widened. "Another human tactic," Rian nodded. "Yes, we cannot fight them head-on. But if we use their expectations against them, we can pass safely." He studied the valley and spotted an abandoned mining station. "We can trigger the old machinery there," he explained. "It will create noise, lights, and movement. The patrols will investigate, giving us the chance to cross undetected." Neva looked at him with growing admiration. "Humans, you find solutions where others see only danger. It is remarkable." Rian smiled faintly. "It is how we survive. We use our brains, not just strength, and we act when it matters most." The plan was set. Neva and the refugees hid in a small hollow near the ridge, while Rian slipped down to the abandoned station. With quick, precise movements, he reactivated old machinery, creating a flurry of sparks, smoke, and noise. The patrols immediately shifted their attention, rushing toward the disturbance. Rian then signaled to Neva, "Now, move." The group crossed the valley with careful speed, staying low and using every rock and shadow as cover. The patrols were distracted, and Rian's plan worked perfectly. The human soldier's ability to combine observation, strategy, and action had turned a dangerous situation into an opportunity. When they reached the other side safely, Neva exhaled in relief. "Your courage and cleverness, it is more than I imagined. You are saving us with both skill and mind. No one else could have done this." Rian shook his head. "It is what humans do. We survive by thinking differently and acting decisively." As night fell, they made camp in a small forested area. The refugees rested, but the tension remained. Neva approached Rian, her violet eyes reflecting firelight. "I have seen leaders in my lifetime," she said. "Advisors, generals, commanders. But you are different. You inspire trust and courage without speaking orders. You lead by example." Rian glanced at her. "Leadership is not about commands. It is about action, support, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Humans understand that instinctively." Neva nodded. She realized that humans were underestimated by almost every alien race for a reason. No one expected the small, underestimated species to think so cleverly, act so decisively, and influence so many. And Rian embodied everything she had come to respect about humanity. The next morning, they continued their journey, entering an area where enemy patrols were even more concentrated. Rian's plan was simple but effective: small groups moving in intervals, careful observation, and precise timing. They advanced slowly, but every step was safer than it had seemed possible. Suddenly, one of the refugees stumbled and cried out. Patrols in the distance turned toward the noise, closing in faster than expected. Rian acted instantly, pulling the refugee to cover and creating a small smoke signal to distract the nearest scouts. Neva's heart raced as she watched him move. Human reflexes, clever improvisation, and calm under pressure all combined into action that seemed almost impossible. The scouts investigated the smoke, giving the group precious seconds to move. Rion led them through a hidden path he had discovered. Earlier, a narrow ravine that allowed them to bypass most of the patrols. Niva's respect for him deepened. Humans were small, underestimated, yet capable of changing outcomes in ways no one expected. By evening, they reached a hidden valley that Rion had identified as safe. The refugees were exhausted, but alive, and Niva felt a growing sense of hope. "You have done more than protect me," she said. Softly, "You have saved countless lives. Your presence, it changes everything." Rion shook his head. "I only did what I could. Humans survive by acting, by helping, and by never giving up. That is all." But Niva saw it differently. She realized that this human soldier had begun to shape events in the galaxy with his courage, intelligence, and determination. One human could indeed influence countless lives, change destinies, and even begin altering the course of history. As night fell, Niva and Rion sat near a small fire, watching the stars above. "The galaxy is bigger than I imagined," she said. "But I see now that one determined human can make a difference." "You are living proof of that." Rion smiled faintly. "It is not just me. It is humanity. We survive. We adapt, and we help when we can. One choice, one action, can change many lives." Niva nodded. She felt hope like she had never felt before. Belief that courage, intelligence, and compassion could truly alter the galaxy's course. And she realized that humans, underestimated by almost every race, had a spark the galaxy had long ignored. Tomorrow, they would face even greater challenges. But with Rion leading, humans showing their unique strength, and Niva beside him, she felt ready. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, but their courage, ingenuity, and determination gave them a chance to survive and to change everything. The human spark, quiet but powerful, had already begun to illuminate the darkness of the galaxy, and Niva, the most beautiful and respected alien princess, began to see a new future, one guided by courage, hope, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. The first light of morning stretched across the horizon, painting the plains with gold and pink. Rion stood on a small ridge, scanning the landscape below. The rogue faction's main forces were gathering near a distant valley, unaware that a small human and his companions were moving carefully through hidden paths. Every detail mattered. Every decision counted. Niva approached him silently, her expression serious but determined. "Today we face them," she said softly. "Their strongest forces, their commanders. But I trust you, human soldier. You have led us this far, and I believe we can succeed." Rion nodded. "We can. Humans survive by acting, by thinking ahead, and by protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Today, we do all three." The refugees, small in number but brave in spirit, followed closely. Rion had taught them the principles that humans use to survive: observation, timing, teamwork, and courage. They moved quietly, carefully, but with a new confidence that came from seeing human ingenuity in action. The valley ahead was wide and open, but Rion had found a narrow, hidden route through the cliffs that led to the enemy's rear. "We go through here," he whispered, pointing to a faint, winding path. "It is risky, but it avoids their main forces. We must move fast and stay together." Niva led the way for the refugees, while Rion scouted ahead. His mind worked quickly, calculating distances, estimating patrols, and predicting possible threats. For every step, he had a plan. For every action, he had an advantage. As they moved through the cliffs, a patrol appeared unexpectedly. Rion acted instantly. He signaled Niva and the refugees to stay hidden, then used small devices he had crafted from his supplies to create noise and light in a distant part of the cliff. The patrol rushed toward the distraction, allowing the group to pass safely. Niva's eyes widened in admiration. "You do not just fight, human. You think, you plan. You create opportunities where none seem possible. It is extraordinary." Rion smiled faintly. "It is how humans survive. We act when others hesitate. We adapt. When others fail, and we never give up. They emerged from the cliffs and approached the enemy's rear. Rian quickly analyzed the situation. The enemy camp was large, but their attention was focused on the front lines, leaving the back lightly defended. "This is our chance," Rian said quietly. "We move in small groups. We disable key systems. First communications, vehicles, and weapons. Then we create chaos. Enough to give the refugees a path to safety." Neva nodded. "I will help. Together, human and alien. We can do this." The attack began. Rian led the first group, disabling communications with precise, careful actions. Explosions of sound and light echoed through the camp, drawing attention and confusion. Enemy soldiers scrambled, unsure where the attacks were coming from. Neva moved alongside him, using her agility and skill to protect the refugees and disable weapons. The humans and aliens' combined abilities created a force neither side had expected. Confusion spread among the enemy ranks. Rian's mind worked rapidly. He anticipated every reaction, predicted every move, and acted decisively. He directed the refugees to safe positions, signaling them with small, silent gestures. Every step they took was guided by human strategy, precision, and courage. The enemy commanders, realizing their rear was under attack, attempted to regroup, but Rian had already anticipated this. He led a small, precise team to disable their vehicles and key equipment. By the time the commanders arrived, their forces were in disarray. Neva watched him, awe in her eyes. "Humans, your courage, intelligence, and ability to inspire others, it is beyond anything I imagined. You are changing the course of this battle and perhaps even the galaxy." Rian shook his head. "I am just one human, but humans survive by helping each other, by acting wisely, and by believing that one person can make a difference. That is all." As the sun climbed higher, the rogue faction was forced to retreat. Their organization had been broken, their morale shattered. Rian's strategy, Neva's skill, and the courage of the refugees had turned the tide. A small human and a brave alien princess had defeated forces that seemed unstoppable. Neva approached Rian as the last enemy ships retreated. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said softly. "Not just for me, not just for the refugees, but for everyone who will hear of this victory. You have shown the galaxy the strength of humans. You have changed everything." Rian smiled faintly. "It is what humans do. We survive, we help, and we act, and sometimes one person can make a difference for many." The refugees cheered quietly, their faces filled with gratitude and hope. Neva watched them and then looked at Rian, realizing that the human spark he carried had ignited courage in others. Hope, determination, and action had spread from one human soldier to countless lives. As they stood together on the ridge, overlooking the valley now quiet and empty of enemies, Neva felt something new. Perhaps humans are the galaxy's greatest. "Hope," she whispered, "not because of strength, not because of technology, but because of courage, intelligence, and the will to act. You are living proof of that." Rian looked at her, humility in his eyes. "Humans are not perfect. We make mistakes, we face challenges, and we are small in the face of danger. But we survive. We adapt, and we act when it matters. That is enough to change many lives." The wind swept across the plains, carrying with it the sense of a new beginning. The rogue faction had been defeated, not by overwhelming power, but by courage, intelligence, and unity. Humans had proven their worth, and Neva, the galaxy's most beautiful and respected princess, understood that the underestimated species held a spark that could alter the future. Together, Rian and Neva looked toward the horizon, knowing their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and opportunities. But with courage, intelligence, and trust, they could face whatever came next. Rian thought of Earth far away and the countless worlds he had yet to see. But he also knew that the simple wish he had made to protect, to act, to make a difference had already begun to reshape lives and destiny itself. The human spark was strong, and the galaxy was taking notice. Neva reached for his hand, a silent gesture of trust, respect, and partnership. Together, she said, we will change the galaxy, not through fear or power, but through courage, wisdom, and heart. Rion nodded, together, as the sun rose fully, illuminating the plains and distant stars. A new dawn began not just for them, but for the galaxy. One human's courage, one alien's trust, and the determination to act had created a ripple that could reshape countless worlds. The human soldier's wish had been simple, yet its impact was limitless. And in that moment, the galaxy understood something it had long forgotten. Even the smallest, underestimated beings could change the course of history. A new era had begun. Terran had never expected a day like this. The sky above the planet Zorth shimmered in strange colors, a mix of deep blue and golden light, reflecting off floating islands that hovered gently above the surface. The air was thick with the scent of alien flora, sweet but sharp, and every step he took seemed to make the soft, glowing grass hum beneath his boots. He had come to Zorth for exploration, for the thrill of discovering new life, and he had found plenty. But nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. While walking through a dense jungle, Terran noticed a sudden vibration in the ground. Leaves shook violently, and a low rumble echoed through the trees. He froze, scanning the area with careful eyes. The jungle of Zorth was home to many strange creatures, some dangerous, some simply curious. But this vibration felt different. It felt like something or someone was in trouble. Hello? Terran called out cautiously, raising his voice so it could carry through the thick foliage. Is anyone there? A small, frightened cry answered him. It was weak but clear. Terran moved toward the sound, weaving through massive, twisting roots and glowing vines. Soon, he came upon a clearing, and his eyes widened. A young alien child was trapped beneath a fallen piece of the forest's giant planted stem, thicker than any tree he had ever seen on Earth. The child's skin was a soft shade of green, and large amber eyes looked at him with fear. Taren didn't hesitate. He dropped his pack and ran toward the child, using all his strength. He began to lift the massive stem. It groaned under his effort, but he refused to give up. Hold still, he said gently. I've got you. The child whimpered but did not struggle. Finally, with one last push, the stem rolled off. Terran caught the child before it could fall. He set it down carefully and checked to make sure it wasn't hurt. The child shook but smiled faintly. Relief washed over Terran. He had saved a life, and somehow, he felt it was the most important thing he had ever done. Are you okay? Terran asked. The child nodded, pointing to a small communication device on their wrist. It looked like a thin bracelet, glowing faintly with blue light. The child pressed a button, sending a signal Terran couldn't understand, but he realized it was a call for help. Before he could ask more, a sudden sound made him look up. Hovering above the clearing, a sleek craft descended slowly. The doors opened, and a tall figure stepped out. Terran's heart skipped a beat. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. Her skin shimmered faintly, like liquid silver under the sunlight. Her eyes were deep purple, filled with curiosity and authority. Her robes flowed around her, floating slightly even without wind. This was no ordinary being. This was royalty. I'm Princess Saren, she said, her voice calm but powerful. Carrying over the clearing, you have saved my child. Who are you? Human Terran straightened, feeling both awe and a hint of nervousness. I'm Terran, he said simply. I didn't know. I just saw your child in danger. I couldn't leave them there. Saren's eyes softened slightly as she looked at him, then at her child, who had already recovered enough to smile at Terran. You have courage and compassion, she said. Qualities rare among your kind. Few would risk themselves for another. Without thought, Terran shrugged modestly. I guess I just did what anyone should. But even he could feel the weight of the moment. Something in Saren's gaze told him this was more than just gratitude. It was recognition and perhaps an offer he didn't yet understand. Saren stepped closer. For saving my child, you shall be rewarded, she said. Terran blinked. He had expected thanks, maybe some honor. But reward? He didn't know what she meant. Reward? He asked. Yes, she said, glancing at the jungle around them. But it is not something you can hold or touch easily. I will explain in time. For now, know that your actions have changed more than just my child's fate. You have impacted our people. The words made Terran pause. He had traveled to many planets, encountered countless alien species, and yet nothing had ever made him feel this way. To be recognized not just for bravery, but for kindness, it was humbling. Saren gestured toward her child. This is Vela, and thanks to you, Vela lives. I trust you understand the weight of what you have done. I do, Terran said quietly. He looked at the small green child and then back at Saren. He realized that he had become part of something bigger, something that reached far beyond himself. As he thought about it, the ground trembled again. This time, it was not small. The forest seemed to groan in warning, and Terran felt a chill. He looked at Saren, who did not flinch. Instead, she raised her hand slightly, and the tremor seemed to ease. The planet reacts to imbalance, she explained, her voice calm as if discussing the weather. It senses danger, not just to me or my child, but to all who live here. You arrived at a critical moment, Terran. Terran swallowed. He had been an explorer, always seeking adventure. But he realized now that he had stumbled into something far more important than a simple expedition. His actions had consequences, real consequences. Vela tugged at Terran's hand, as if asking him to stay. Terran knelt to meet the child's eyes. I'll be careful, he promised softly. The child nodded, a small smile breaking across their face. Saren's eyes never left Terran. You have shown bravery and heart, Terran. These are gifts that will serve you well. The galaxy is changing, and humans like you may become the key to many futures. Terran felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He had only intended to explore, to observe, to survive. Yet now, it seemed the universe had chosen him for something far greater. Finally, Saren spoke again, her tone lighter, almost gentle. Rest now. We will meet again soon. I have much to show you, and I believe you have much to teach us. Terran nodded, unsure what exactly she meant, but certain of one thing: his life had changed forever. He helped a child today, yes, but he had also caught the attention of a princess of an alien world. And somehow, he knew this was only the beginning. As Terran looked around the glowing jungle, at the floating islands above, and at the alien princess watching him with those deep purple eyes, he felt a spark of excitement. The adventure he had always dreamed of was no longer just a dream. It was real, and it had just begun. The next morning, Terran awoke to the gentle hum of Zorth's floating cities above the jungle. The air smelled of sweet flowers mixed with the metallic tang of the advanced technology that pulsed through the planet. He had spent the night in a small clearing, but now, as he stretched and looked around, he realized something had changed. The forest felt alive in a way he had not noticed before, almost aware of his presence. He heard the soft steps of someone approaching and turned to see Princess Saren herself. Her silver-like skin glimmered in the morning light, and her flowing robe seemed to float as she walked toward him. Vela ran ahead, skipping lightly across the glowing grass, laughing in a way that reminded Terran of children back on Earth. You are awake, Saren said, her purple eyes calm but sharp. Good. We have much to discuss. Terran stood quickly, brushing dirt from his clothes. I was wondering when I'd see you again, he said. I didn't expect the princess herself to visit me in the jungle. Saren smiled faintly. The jungle is where I first saw your bravery. It is only proper that I meet you where you prove yourself. She motioned for him to follow. Come with me. There's a place where we can talk without disturbance. Terran followed her carefully, carrying his pack. As they walked, he noticed the small creatures of the forest watching silently. Almost reverently, he felt both awe and slight unease. Nothing here was like anything he had ever known. After a short climb up a natural ridge, they arrived at a small platform suspended in the air. It was held up by invisible energy fields, and beneath them, the jungle stretched endlessly, lit by sunlight that passed through the glowing leaves. Saren gestured for Terran to sit. He obeyed, his curiosity growing. Yesterday, you saved my child. Saren began, That act alone would be enough to earn respect. Perhaps even a place among our people for a human. But what you did goes beyond survival instinct. You acted with thought, courage, and care. That is rare. Terran shook his head. I just did what felt right. I didn't think about rewards or recognition. Saren's eyes softened. Many would not act as you did. Humans are often seen as unpredictable, even reckless. But your actions, they show something important: compassion, courage, a willingness to risk yourself for others. She paused, looking at Vela playing nearby. Because of your actions, my child lives, but there is more at stake than you realize. Our planet faces a danger that could destroy not just my people, but everything on this world. I need someone like you, someone who thinks differently, who can approach problems without fear. Terran frowned, confusion mixed with concern. Danger? What kind of danger? Saren's expression grew serious. An energy force, something ancient and powerful, is destabilizing our planet's core. Our scientists have tried to contain it, but the problem is beyond their methods alone. Your ingenuity as a human may help where our technology cannot. Terran swallowed. He had traveled too many dangerous places before, faced creatures he couldn't even name. But nothing had ever felt as immense as this. You want me to help save your planet? He asked. Disbelief in his voice. Yes, Saren said softly. I do, and I did not ask lightly. The task will be dangerous, but if you succeed, you will have done more than save a child, you will have saved an entire world. Terran's mind raced. He had not expected this. He had come as an explorer, seeking adventure and knowledge, not responsibility on this scale. Yet, as he looked at the small green child laughing nearby, he felt a spark of determination. He had saved this child once. Could he help save the world that belonged to her? I will try. He said finally, I don't know if I can do it, but I will try. Saren's expression brightened slightly. That is all I ask. We will not go alone. I will provide guides, information, and technology. You will learn our methods. And together, we will find a way to restore balance. She motioned toward a hovering craft waiting nearby. Come, there is someone I want you to meet. Their knowledge will be invaluable in this mission. Terran followed her, stepping into the smooth, silver interior of the hovercraft. Inside, a figure waited, bent over a holographic display of the planet's interior. The being was older, with green-tinted skin and intricate markings along their arms. Their eyes brightened as Terran entered. This is Arian, Saren explained, our chief scientist. He will assist you in understanding the problem. Arian straightened and nodded respectfully. Human, your presence here is unusual, but I have seen your actions. Perhaps your perspective will help. Come, we have much to discuss. Terran studied the holographic images, amazed at the complexity. Crystalline structures pulsed deep within the planet, spreading energy that could either sustain life or, if uncontrolled, destroy it. Saren and Arian explained how the energy reacted to emotions, conflicts, and imbalance. Terran listened carefully, absorbing what he could. It is strange, Arian said, but we believe that this energy is living in some sense. It responds to intention. Fear and anger make it unstable. Courage, focus, and cooperation help it harmonize. Terran nodded slowly. This was unlike anything he had studied before. He realized that simple human solutions like careful observation, reasoning, and creativity might indeed make a difference where alien technology alone could not. As they spoke, Terran noticed Saren watching him closely, her eyes filled with a mix of hope and concern. He understood that this was not just a mission of science, it was deeply personal for her. Vela's safety, her people's survival, all rested on choices they made now. After hours of discussion, Saren finally spoke. Terran, I know this is overwhelming, but know that your actions yesterday have already proven your worth. You have the courage to face danger and the heart to make the right decisions. That is why I have chosen you for this task. You will not just be a helper, you will be a partner. Terran felt a mix of pride and fear. He had never imagined that saving a single child would lead to this. Yet, as he looked at the alien princess and her world, he realized that adventure alone was no longer enough. He wanted to help. He wanted to be part of something meaningful, finally. Saren placed a small hand on his arm. Rest now. Tomorrow. Your training begins. You will learn to understand our technology, our energy, and the ways to restore balance. I will be with you, guiding you. But remember, Terran, your bravery and compassion are as important as any device or tool. Terran nodded, feeling both exhausted and exhilarated. He looked at Vela one last time before closing his eyes, imagining the challenges ahead. He had entered Zorth as a simple explorer. Now, he was part of something far larger, a mission that could save a planet and change the future of an entire species. As he drifted to sleep, Terran realized that the true reward of yesterday's act had already begun. The adventure he had always dreamed of was here, and it was more important, more dangerous, and more exciting than he could have ever imagined. The sun of Zorth rose slowly over the floating cities, casting long golden beams across the jungle. Terran woke to the soft hum of energy fields surrounding the princess's hovercraft. Today was different. Today, he would see the first signs of the danger that Saren had warned him about. After a simple breakfast, Saren appeared at the door of his quarters. Her purple eyes were calm, but carried an urgency that Terran could not ignore. Terran, she said softly, we must leave soon. The energy instability is growing. The longer we wait, the more difficult it will become to restore balance. Terran nodded. I'm ready. What's the plan? Saren smiled faintly. First, you will see the areas most affected. You must understand what we are facing before we can act. They walked together to a sleek hovercraft. The forest around them seemed unusually quiet, as if it sensed the danger approaching. Vela waved goodbye to Terran before being led back to the palace by her caretakers. Terran felt a pang of concern. The child had survived danger once. He hoped she would stay safe while they dealt with something far larger. The hovercraft lifted into the sky, passing over the glowing forests and floating islands. Below, rivers of liquid crystal reflected the morning light, and strange creatures moved in patterns Terran had never seen. Everything on this planet seemed alive, but in ways that were subtle and delicate. Saren pointed toward a distant ridge. There, that is one of the first areas affected by the energy imbalance. As they approached, Terran saw the land trembling. Crystalline trees, normally steady, shook violently. Streams of blue light shot into the sky in jagged patterns. The plants emitted a low hum that vibrated through the air. Terran realized that the energy had not just affected the ground it had reached. The life around it, it's worse than I imagined, Terran whispered, his voice tense. How do we even begin to fix this? Saren's expression was calm, but her eyes were sharp. We observe. We analyze. We act. Patience is as important as courage here. They landed near a clearing where the energy pulsed most strongly. Terran noticed cracks forming in the crystal-like soil. Small creatures scurried for cover, their glowing bodies flickering with fear. Saren guided him to a panel embedded in the ground. It projected a holographic map showing energy flows and hotspots. This is the shadow pulse, Saren explained. It grows when fear, anger, or conflict increases in the area. It reacts to negative energy and spreads quickly. Terran studied the map. So, it's like a living storm, feeding on emotion. Exactly, Saren said, and it has begun to destabilize the planet's orbit. If it continues, the floating islands could collapse, and the farce could be destroyed. Terran's mind raced. He had faced storms on Earth, mechanical failures, and dangerous creatures. But this was something entirely different. It was alive, intelligent in a sense, responding to the world's energy. Arion, the chief scientist, arrived shortly after. Terran, your presence may be crucial, he said. Our technology can contain some areas temporarily, but we need a mind that approaches problems differently, the way humans think. Intuitive, adaptive could make the difference here. Terran nodded, determination settling in his chest. Then we start now. Show me what we can do. Aaron guided him through a series of devices designed to measure and stabilize the energy. The instruments were complex, glowing with colors Terran had never seen. As he studied them, he realized that the human ability to improvise might be the key. One small adjustment here, a new approach there, could change the way the energy reacted. Hours passed as Terran experimented under Arian's careful guidance. Sometimes he failed, causing small eruptions of energy that made the ground tremble beneath them, but each failure taught him something new. Saren watched silently, her presence reassuring. Terran felt her trust, and it gave him strength. As the day progressed, the shadow pulse grew stronger. A loud rumble shook the forest, and nearby trees cracked. Crystalline vines wrapped around themselves as though frightened, and tiny creatures ran for cover. Terran realized that time was running out. Suddenly, a burst of energy shot upward from a nearby ridge. The ground shook violently, and Terran was thrown off balance. Saren's hand shot out, steadying him. The pulse is reacting to fear, she shouted. Keep calm. You must control your energy as well as the devices. Terran focused. He took deep, steadying breaths. His hands moved carefully over the controls, making adjustments to the devices in real time. Slowly, the violent pulses began to subside. The ground stopped shaking as intensely, and the air felt less charged. You're learning quickly, Saren said, her voice calm but filled with pride. Humans have a unique way of solving problems under pressure. Your courage and focus are helping stabilize the energy. Terran allowed himself a small smile. It was exhausting, and the danger was far from over, but he was making a difference. For the first time, he realized that human traits courage, intuition, compassion could change outcomes even in worlds far beyond Earth. As they continued to work, Arian showed Terran more data. The shadow pulse was not just a problem, it was also a key to understanding the planet itself. If they could learn how to harmonize it, Zorth could thrive more than ever before. By evening, the immediate danger in the area had lessened. Though the shadow pulse still rumbled faintly in the distance, Terran stood beside Saren, looking over the jungle below. The planet was alive, vibrant, and fragile all at once. You have done well today, Saren said softly, but this is only the beginning. The pulse is growing in other areas, and soon we will need to confront it at its source. Terran felt both excitement and fear. He had never imagined that saving a child would lead to this, facing a living energy force, threatening an entire planet. Yet, he also felt something new, purpose. He had a chance to help not just one life, but an entire world. As the hovercraft lifted into the evening sky, Terran looked down at the jungle, glowing softly under Zorth's twin suns. He knew the days ahead would be harder, more dangerous, and filled with challenges unlike any he had faced. But he also knew that he would not face them alone. Beside him, Saren's hand brushed briefly against his arm, a small gesture of trust and partnership. Vela's laughter echoed in the distance, a reminder of why he had started this journey. And in that moment, Terran understood something important. Bravery alone was not enough. Compassion, quick thinking, and the courage to act in the face of fear were what truly mattered. The shadow pulse awaited them, and Terran was ready to face it. The next morning, Terran awoke to a sky filled with swirling clouds tinged in gold and violet. The air was heavy, buzzing faintly with the energy that Saren had warned him about. Today, they would journey deeper into the heart of the danger, the place where the shadow pulse had begun to grow stronger and more unpredictable. Saren met him outside the palace. Her purple eyes were steady, showing both determination and concern. Terran, she said, today we will see the core of the disturbance. It is dangerous, but necessary. Are you ready? Terran nodded, tightening the straps of his pack. I'm ready. Let's go. Vela waved to him from the palace garden. Be careful, the small child called, her amber eyes wide with worry. Terran gave a reassuring smile and waved back, protecting. Vela had been his first act on this planet, and he felt a deep sense of responsibility for her safety. The hovercraft rose smoothly into the sky. Terran watched the forest below shrink as they traveled over rivers of crystal and floating islands. The further they went, the more he noticed subtle changes. Trees were twisted unnaturally, and the ground shimmered with strange energy currents. Even the wildlife seemed agitated, moving quickly as if sensing an unseen threat. Saren spoke softly beside him. The shadow pulse affects everything it touches. It reacts to fear, conflict, and imbalance. Our scientists can study it, but we must experience it to understand it fully. You have a clear mind, Terran. That will help you. Hours passed as they navigated the terrain. They encountered patches where the ground pulsed like a heartbeat, and glowing vines stretched out as if to warn them away. Terran's pulse quickened each time, but he kept his focus. He had learned from Saren and Arian that panic only made the energy worse. Calmness and careful action were their tools. Finally, they reached a large canyon. The walls were crystalline, and deep cracks glowed with electric blue light. From below, a low, vibrating hum rose, a sound that seemed alive, pulsing in rhythm with the planet itself. "This is where it is strongest," Saren said. "The pulse feeds here, growing faster than we predicted. We must move carefully." They disembarked and began the descent. The path was narrow, winding along crystal formations that hummed underfoot. Terran noticed that each step seemed to cause a small ripple in the energy field. He moved slowly, adjusting his pace to the rhythm of the planet. Halfway down, a sudden tremor shook the ground. Crystals cracked and fell, sending shards glittering across the canyon floor. Terran grabbed Saren's arm to steady her. "Stay close," he said. "We need to keep calm." Saren nodded. "We do." Fear will only feed the pulse. As they continued, they encountered strange creatures that seemed drawn to the energy. They were neither hostile nor friendly, but their glowing eyes followed every movement. One creature, small and spider-like with translucent legs, scurried past Terran's boots, making him jump slightly. Saren placed a hand on his shoulder. "Observe them, but do not startle them. They react to our energy as well." Terran took a deep breath and focused. He remembered Arian's advice: careful observation, calm action, and understanding the pulse of the environment. Slowly, he realized that these creatures were part of the planet's energy system, living sensors that could help him predict changes in the pulse. After several hours, they reached a plateau near the core. The energy here was intense, bright, blue currents running through the ground like veins. Crystalline spires jutted up in jagged patterns, pulsing in rhythm with a deep hum that resonated in Terran's chest. "This is it," Saren said quietly. "The center of the pulse. From here, we can study its behavior and find a way to stabilize it." Terran knelt to examine the ground. The crystals responded to his touch, glowing brighter where his hands hovered. He realized that the energy was sensitive, reacting not just to actions but to intention. His calm focus seemed to soothe the pulses slightly. Saren observed him closely. "You understand it quickly. Most beings would panic, and that would make it worse. Your courage and composure are already helping us." As they studied the area, a low rumble shook the plateau. Terran glanced around and noticed cracks forming in the crystal floor. A surge of energy shot upward, illuminating the sky with streaks of blue and white. He stepped back instinctively, but Saren placed her hand on his arm. "Do not retreat," she said. "Move with it, guide it. Use your mind as well as your hands." Terran took a deep breath and focused on the rhythm of the pulse. He moved carefully along the cracks, adjusting small devices Arian had provided to harmonize the energy. Sparks of light shot from the crystals, but slowly the surges lessened. He felt the energy begin to respond, almost as if it recognized his intent. Saren nodded approvingly. "You are learning its language. This is rare. Most take days, sometimes weeks, to make progress like this." Terran felt a mix of pride and relief. It was exhausting, both physically and mentally, but the results were clear. The energy became less chaotic, and the tremors slowed down as they worked. Saren spoke quietly. "Terran, this journey is not just about stabilizing energy. It is about understanding our world, our connection to it, and your connection to us. You are helping us see that courage, compassion, and intelligence together can overcome challenges beyond measure." Terran looked at her, seeing the truth in her words. He had come to Zorth as an explorer, curious and brave, but now he realized that he had a deeper purpose. His actions mattered not just for survival, but for life itself. By evening, the core area was calmer, though the pulse still pulsed faintly. Terran and Saren stood together, watching the glowing crystals. The air was quieter now, filled with a sense of fragile balance. "You have done well today," Saren said softly, "but the pulse is growing elsewhere. Tomorrow, we will need to confront it at multiple locations. The journey will become more dangerous, but you have proven that you are capable." Terran nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also a sense of determination. He had faced the first real challenge of the pulse and survived. He knew that the days ahead would test him even more, but he was ready. As they returned to the hovercraft, Terran looked down at the glowing canyon below. He understood that Zorth was alive, and its survival depended on courage, intelligence, and careful action. He felt proud to be part of something so important, yet humble in the face of the planet's power. Beside him, Saren's hand brushed lightly against his arm, a silent reassurance and a sign of trust. Terran felt a spark of hope. They had faced the first wave of danger together, and he knew that with focus and courage, they could face the next challenge as well. The journey to the heart of danger had begun, and Terran was ready to meet whatever came next. The next morning, the air on Zorth felt heavier than usual. Terran could sense the energy in the jungle, the faint hum of the planet vibrating through every surface. Today, they would confront the shadow pulse at its source, the heart of the instability that threatened the entire world. Saren met him at the hovercraft landing. Her expression was serious, but her eyes held trust. "Terran," she said softly, "this is the moment that will define us. The core is unstable, and the energy is unpredictable. You must remain calm and focus on your actions. I will be with you, but your courage is what matters most." Terran nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and determination. He had faced danger before, but nothing like this. The pulse was alive, responding not just to motion, but to thoughts and emotion. He knew that any panic could worsen the situation. Fell away from the palace balcony. "Be careful," she called. Her small voice reminded Terran of why he had started this mission. He smiled faintly and gave her a thumbs up. Protecting her and the world she represented was now his responsibility. The hovercraft lifted into the sky, flying over forests that pulsed with faint blue light. The further they traveled, the more intense the energy became. Streams of light shot from the ground, twisting through the air in chaotic patterns. Small creatures darted between the streams, fleeing the turbulence. "This is it," Saren said, pointing to a valley below. Jagged crystal formations glowed with an eerie light, and the ground shimmered as though it were alive. "The pulse is strongest here. We must descend carefully." They landed at the edge of the valley, stepping onto ground that thrummed under their feet. Terran immediately noticed the vibrations in the crystals, the way they seemed to respond to every step he moved carefully, matching his movements to the rhythm of the land. Arian joined them, carrying a small device designed to measure and control energy fluctuations. "The pulse is sensitive," he said. "It reacts to fear, anger, and sudden movement. We will guide you, but you must remain focused. Your presence here is unusual, human, but necessary." Terran nodded. He could feel the energy brushing against his mind, almost whispering in ways he could not fully understand. He focused, taking deep breaths, centering himself. The devices hummed softly in his hands, reacting to his calm, focused dot as they moved deeper into the valley. The energy surged violently. Crystalline spires bent and twisted, casting shifting shadows across the ground. Terran stumbled slightly, but Saren steadied him. "Do not fight it," she said. "Move with it. Guide it. Your mind and actions must work together with the energy, not against it." Terran adjusted the devices, using small modifications to redirect the flow of energy. Sparks of blue light shot into the sky, but gradually the pulses began to stabilize. It was exhausting, both physically and mentally, but he could see progress. Suddenly, a surge erupted from the ground, more powerful than anything Terran had felt. He was thrown back, hitting the ground hard. Saren and Arian rushed to his side. Terran felt the pain in his arm and leg, but focused on the glowing crystals. The energy was wild, but it responded to intention. "I can do this," he whispered to himself. "I have to." With careful steps, he moved toward the center of the valley. The devices in his hands glowed brighter as he positioned them near the largest crystal spire. The pulse reacted immediately, energy surging toward him. Terran's heart pounded, but he remained calm, thinking only of harmony, balance, and the safety of the planet. Saren's voice guided him. Focus, Terran, you are part of this. Let the energy sense your courage, your calm. Trust yourself. Terran took a deep breath and stepped fully into the field. The energy wrapped around him, pulses flowing through his body. He could feel it trying to push him away, testing his resolve. He closed his eyes and allowed his mind to match the rhythm of the pulse, letting every thought be steady and intentional. For a long moment, nothing changed. Then, slowly, the violent surges began to soften. The crystal's glow shifted from chaotic blue to a steady, calm light. The tremors in the ground lessened, and the air seemed lighter, easier to breathe. Terran opened his eyes and saw Saren smiling. Faintly, "You are succeeding," she said. "Keep going. One more adjustment." He positioned the final device, carefully tuning it with his hands and thoughts. The pulse reacted immediately, settling into a stable pattern. The valley glowed softly, and the wild energy hum became harmonious. Terran felt the weight of the strain leave his body, though his muscles ached from the effort. Arian stepped forward, examining the devices. "Incredible," he said. "The energy is stabilizing faster than we predicted. Your approach, human." Intuition combined with careful observation has made the difference. Terran breathed heavily, relief washing over him. He had done it. Against the odds, he had faced the living energy and helped restore balance. Saren approached him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Terran, you have done more than I could have hoped. You have not only saved the core, but shown us that courage, focus, and compassion can overcome even the most dangerous challenges." Terran smiled faintly, exhaustion and pride mixing together. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance, without your trust." Saren nodded. "And without your heart. That is the most important part. Knowledge and technology are useful, but the heart guides them. You have both." They stood together for a moment, looking over the valley. The crystals glowed steadily, the chaotic energy now harmonized. Even the small creatures of the valley emerged, moving calmly across the glowing ground. The planet seemed to breathe, alive and peaceful once more. "You have earned the gratitude of not just Vela, not just me, but of all our people," Saren said softly. "And more than gratitude, you have earned respect and trust. What you have done today will be remembered forever." Terran felt a warmth in his chest. He had come to Zorth as an explorer, a stranger in a strange world. Now, he was a hero in the eyes of an entire planet. As they returned to the hovercraft, Terran glanced once more at the glowing valley. The shadow pulse had been dangerous, unpredictable, and alive, but he had faced it and helped restore balance, and he knew that the days ahead, while challenging, were filled with new possibilities. Beside him, Saren placed a hand lightly on his arm. "Rest now, Terran. You have faced the heart of the danger, but this is only the beginning. Together, we will ensure the planet's safety and its future." Terran nodded, feeling both pride and determination. He had risked himself for the greater good, and in doing so, he had grown stronger, braver, and wiser. The adventure was far from over, but he was ready for whatever came next. And for the first time, he realized that the universe held more than exploration and survival. It held connection, purpose, and the chance to make a real difference.